Hello, hello. You have reached the Living in Bakersfield channel. I am so excited for you to be here today. So, in case you're new here, I am Angel, your local Bakersfield Realtor, and this is the Living in Bakersfield channel. If you are thinking about moving here, calling this place home, being a part of this incredible community, I would love to hear from you. All of my information is in the description below. Now, a new thing that I'm doing on this channel is I'm doing market updates, but I'm bringing you guys the experts that I use. It's fantastic. So last month we had Dan Artis. This month, I'm going to introduce you to these girls are rock stars. So you're going to be meeting Natalie Panelli and Nicole Kostelnik. And so I used to call her Nicole Hawks before she got married, but here, let me introduce you to them. They're going to drop some great knowledge about the California. Oh, hang on. It's a little wonky. Hang on. It's warming up. It'll warm up. It's still wonky, girls. Hang on. You're there, but we're having some technical issues. Let me see if I can change there you are. Hang on. Let me change the format. They're here, guys. They're here. I promise. Let me play with StreamYard a little bit. Okay. This has you in the frame. But I get there we go. There you go. Lean in that.
It's changing our position.
It's got my face very big. So let me just apologize to those that are seeing very large face. But anyway, so this is Natalie, and actually the other way around. Natalie is in blue and Nicole is in red. And girls, they are also with the Mortgage House, and they have been doing this combined for 60 years. It's just insane. So yes, girls, take it away. Tell us all the things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Angel. I did see earlier that you were supporting your Valentine's shirt. I made sure and did the same today. So I'm right there with you. Great minds think alike. Natalie and I are actually a mother-daughter duo. We have been working together for 20 years now. So we have some knowledge in the history of the markets, the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads. So we're here today to kind of update and follow up from where Dan left off. He did an amazing job updating everybody on the market. I really enjoyed his presentation and his feedback.
Yes, he did so great.
He did. So, and then we are going to talk about the Calhfa Dream For All, or Calhfa Dream For All program today as well.
So people would know it as, if they would hear it, it would sound like Calhfa.
Calhfa.
Or Calhfa.
HFA.
Yeah.
California Housing Finance Authority.
So there you go.
HFA.
But we all shorten it and say Calhfa.
Exactly right.
Right. Okay. All right. Take it away. So did you want me to do the slides or are you doing them?
I got you covered.
Okay.
So this is us. Nicole's in red. Natalie's in blue. So we wanted to lead off from where Dan left off. He gave such a great update. We're just kind of picking up from where he finished off from what's happened since you met with him. So January 31st, the Fed did conclude their Fed meeting. They said that they were not going to change the rates.
This is Powell, right?
This is Powell.
Okay.
Correct. Jerome Powell. We expected that. We did not expect a rate cut in the January meeting. So that was not any sort of surprise to anybody.
Okay.
He did make some good comments. He stated that he believed that the Fed has reached their peak Fed funds rate, which means they're not going to keep raising the Fed funds rate, which is good. We want that.
We're not going to go higher?
We can never guarantee we're not going to go higher, but he has said he believes he's reached his peak rate. Anything could change. I mean, he was on 60 Minutes Sunday night and the market woke up real cranky Monday because of some words that he said as well. So his words hold a lot of weight right now.
Okay.
He did acknowledge the last 6 months of the inflation data was what they'd hoped to see occur. So that was good. That was part of the positive feedback he gave last week.
Okay.
He does not think there will be a rate cut at the March meeting. And then with the updates that we got Friday in the jobs information, that rate cut chance has went to zero. So nobody's anticipating a rate cut at the March meeting unless some crazy reports come out with the inflation data just giving us amazing news. But right now there is a 0% chance of a rate decrease in the Fed funds rate for March.
So we're holding steady.
We're still hoping to see some market improvements as the inflation data comes out in the manner that the Fed is hoping for.
Okay.
We do see market improvements.
Okay.
And we'll actually see a sample of that here in just a moment.
Okay.
But one thing we are seeing is that layoffs are at the highest point in the last 12 months.
That's scary.
That's bad news. Where's that going to leave us? That should bring us to our unemployment rate going up. That is something the Fed actually likes, because it means that what they're doing is working. It's slowing that economy down. They don't want jobs being opened over and over and over, because that means the economy is thriving, right? They want that to kind of slow down. So kind of went through a overview here of who has done the layoffs.
Okay.
UPS has done 12,000. Salesforce, which is a temp agency, has done 7,300. Microsoft has laid off. PayPal, Macy's, Levi's, Wayfair, Google, and Google has left the caveat open that they need to brace for more layoffs.
Retro.
So I think we're just starting to see the turn point of all the hard work the Fed's been trying to do to bring our interest rates up, to slow everything down. I think that's just starting to show itself.
So they have to kind of rewrite the ship, or rebalance the ship is kind of what they're doing, what they're trying to do. Okay.
Exactly. Just to kind of we wanted to give people an idea, because everybody talks rates, right? Rates are up, and rates are up from what we are used to during COVID. But, will we see our 2s and 3% again? Not anytime soon. We don't think, unless if something crazy happens. Obviously, we can't predict the future. Otherwise, I would have won the lotto by now. But you can see here on this screen, October was our highest point. Rates neared 8%. That was a rough month. We have since come down. You'll see over on the far right-hand side of the screen where we've actually shot up a little bit. You can see the blue popped up quite a bit. That was with the information on Friday and Monday from the Fed regarding jobs, and that more people had opened up jobs than they had hoped for.
Was this before 60 Minutes or after? This was before 60 Minutes?
In between. Okay. 60 minutes. So we did see that spike up. We've seen some reprieve today. Markets softened up a little bit today. But you can see the overall information here is that we are down off those highs.
Yeah.
We've climbed the mountain. Hopefully we're just sliding down it for the rest of the year now.
That's encouraging. Even 7 is good. Like, I know it affects what you can purchase, but in the scale of things, 7 is still a nice number.
It's good for those of us who have seen the cycle, but you've got to remember there's a lot of young people in here that haven't seen that cycle. So to them, it's just high.
Right.
and I feel their pain. I mean, it's tough.
It hurts. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now that kind of gives you our update on the market. And then now we're diving into the Dream for All, the big reason we're here today, the big out in the world of people, real estate wise, that are talking about it. Yes, and Natalie's going to pick up from here and kind of give us a start.
Okay. It's all over our feed right now. Boy.
Yes, it is. So the California Dream for All program has come back out again. It's getting ready to come out. It has changed dramatically since the first time it was out here last year.
Okay.
We do see this program as people are paying back their funds as being replenished maybe year after year, but we'll have to just wait and see. So
that's the long game that you might, not, again, you don't have a crystal ball, but that's the long game, is you're anticipating this is something that might be rolled out year over year.
Yes. And for a short time, it's just until they use it, repay it, reuse it, repay it. So some of the key points to this particular program is you do have to be a first-time home buyer. All buyers have to be a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
A first-time home buyer is typically classified as somebody who has not owned a home in the last 3 years. Okay. This program has an additional stipulation, which is one of the big changes from last year.
Okay.
At least about one borrower has to be a first-generation homeowner. A first-generation homeowner is considered somebody who has not owned a home in 7 years.
Okay.
And that their parents, this is the crazy part, their parents currently do not own a home.
Break that down, Natalie. Break that down.
Okay, so let's say you're buying a home and you want to use this program, but your parents currently own a home, you are disqualified. Now, if your parents passed away 15 years ago and they owned a home at the time that they passed away, you're disqualified.
Oh.
So they've got some really stiff penalties on this.
Okay.
The restrictions are kind of crazy, but they're trying to obviously help a certain class of people that have not been able to have the opportunity to buy before.
So my parents, as a buyer on this new program, cannot have owned a house within the last 7 years.
Right.
And I have to be the one that is buying a house for the first time or under the first time guidelines of within the last 3 years.
Well, let me go back and just clarify there. So you have to be a first-time home buyer, cannot have owned a home in 7 years.
Okay.
If your parents currently own a home now, you're disqualified. Okay. If they owned a home 20 years ago, but they no longer own that home, then you are now qualified, based on their part of it.
And this is not state specific. This is just ever. So it doesn't even that they have to be owning a home in California. It's just any state. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. The borrower can contribute a max of 5% on this program. That's the max that they can do. The assistance for this program is up to 20% with a max of $150,000. We're not going to really see that here in Bakersfield, but this is California, so it could be anywhere. When Calhfa is doing their scrubbing on the clients, they're looking at the client's current address. That's where they're starting because obviously they don't have a property in mind yet.
Okay.
There can be no co-occupant, co-signers, or co-borrowers.
Break that down.
Anybody on the loan has to be owner occupied.
So I'm not doing this as an investment property.
Correct.
We're not doing it with the intention that we're going to do some shady whatever. We're going to buy this home. We're going to live in this home.
Correct.
And to the other point that you just brought up, a max of $150,000. That's the cost of the property?
Of the sales price. So max 20% of the purchase price with a limit of $150,000, whichever is less.
Because some counties obviously are going to be very different.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, I don't really we're not going to see this here in Kern County.
Right.
But just letting you know.
Not in Orange County, up in, the Bay Area, some of those first-time home buyer condos or anything like that. That could be the
absolutely. Yeah.
The number that it lands at. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. This program has a shared appreciation payback, and we'll go into more details on that here shortly. But what this means is not only if they go to sell, refinance, or pay off their loan, they will pay back whatever the original amount of money that they received and 20% of their profits with it. And there will be a max on that. So we'll go over that here shortly as well. Okay.
I have a lot of questions. So yes.
Yes. Yeah. This program must be paired with a Calhfa conventional first mortgage. So FHA is not on the table. It's only conventional.
Okay.
Okay. Again, what defines the first-time home buyer? A first-time home buyer is defined as a borrower who has not had ownership in any principal residence or resided in a home owned by a spouse during the past 3 years.
Love it. Okay.
A lot of questions we always get are, well, I wasn't on, my husband was on a loan, but I wasn't,
And that makes a difference or it doesn't?
It does make a difference. If you were part of that home, if you were living in it, says resided in, then it takes you out of that.
Would a divorce or a separation step into this little fray, or would that muddy the waters a little bit?
It muddies the water a little bit. Calhfa has had a program before that a displaced spouse, if I'm not mistaken. We can check into that further. It's not something they've actually defined on their information that they just sent out.
Okay. And by the way, before we go any further, Nicole and Natalie are going to give you some ways to get a hold of them. But if you are watching this and you would like to go ahead and just reach out to them directly, in the description below is a link that you can just go and fill out that little, who you are and what you need, and it will go directly to them. So before I forget, I wanted to let anybody that's watching this today, tomorrow, or next week, that is there for you. Just click the link and you will go directly to them. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so again, we're going to just recap a little bit on what the first generation home buyer is, because it is brand new to this particular program. Now, the other Calhfa programs do not have this. It is just the Dream for All program.
Okay.
The first generation home buyer is defined as a home buyer who has not been on title, held an ownership interest, or have been named on a mortgage to a loan on permanent foundations. So that would be your manufactured or your mobile home in the United States in the last 7 years.
Okay. There you go.
I know our formatting got a little weird here when we uploaded to here.
No, but it answered the question that I asked just a second ago of like anywhere in the United States or just California, because it's the California Dream for All. So that's why I was like, how is that working? But go ahead. It's fine. We can read it. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So the first generation part, to the best of the home buyer's knowledge, it's stating that the parents do not have any present ownership in the home by the United States, excuse me, or if deceased whose parents did not have ownership interest at the time of death in the United States.
Boy, this is getting from really wide to we're getting
absolutely.
a very narrow.
It's gonna scrub a lot of people out of it.
Yeah.
But I just want to take this time to state that Calhfa has hired an investigation service. So if people think, oh, I can just say I'm not, they do plan on going after those people. So they do audits. They're going to audit every one of these files to make sure that it's a first generation home buyer.
They are not messing around.
They're not messing around, and it's not worth the risk.
Yeah. Do we really want to go playing footsie with the state and the
exactly? An individual who has at any time been placed in foster care or institutional care, out of the home or residential care, can be qualified. So that would qualify them as a first generation if they were placed in the foster care system.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of opens it up for people that maybe didn't have
a house growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's just on that one. I'm going to just reiterate that just one of the buyers. So if you have a husband and wife that have not owned a home in the last 3 years, just one of them has to be a first generation buyer. So they're just, if one person's parents owned a home, okay, they're not it. But so that's husband. Wife's parents have never owned a home. Wife qualifies as a first generation buyer and they are okay. They both cannot have owned a home in 3 years, but only one of them has to qualify as the first generation.
Right. Understood. And that's actually, that actually opens up a lot of opportunity, I think, for a lot of first-time buyers that, are trying to get in on this.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So Calhfa Dream For All will not be a program that works for everybody. Calhfa does have other assistance programs that if they can't fit into this description, we would be taking a look at the other one.
Right.
They still have the My Home, the ZIP, conventional FHA, VA, USDA. So there are still options out there for Calhfa that don't have all of these restrictions. Those come underneath the first-time homebuyer, just regular 3 years first-time homebuyer program.
Because this is a new-ish program that the state has rolled out. So the other ones, when we were talking about the funnel, so this is a very small window of people that can and will qualify nation or statewide. But the others are very broad in that, if you are a veteran, if you are going to go conventional, if you are going to just get an FHA loan, your qualifications are nowhere near this rigid. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And those are all still available as well. And very good options. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I just want to make sure people understood that, there's still the other stuff is out there too. Yeah. Good. Ooh,
okay.
Look at this.
And Nicole's going to go over the shared appreciation terms.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on, Angel, but it seems like it's cutting off some of the slides. So bear with me on this. The shared appreciation. So what that means is state's going to come in and give you 20% for your down payment up to $150,000, right? With that max cap.
Okay.
When you go to sell your house, refinance it, or if you're thinking, oh, rates have dropped to 5%, let me get out of this other rate that I have and down to 5%, you're going to have to pay this loan back at that time. So you can refinance it into the mortgage. The nice thing is it's not considered a cash out refinance because you acquired this loan to purchase the property.
Okay.
That's a whole different can of worms. But the point is when you go to sell, refinance, or if 30 years have passed by, this 20% down is now payable.
So when I as a realtor and I'm going to go meet with someone that has gotten a hold of this program and they want to sell, and I ask, has there been an insurance claim? Things like that. Are there any back taxes due? Blah, 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 blah. I need to now get into the habit of saying, did you acquire this home with the California Dream For All? So
any assistance. Did you acquire your home with any assistance program? Because there's the My Home, there's ZIP. Those are all repayment loans.
You're right. Okay.
And the hard part is, people forget if they've been in their home 10 or 15 years, they're not making payments on this assistance, and it just out of sight, out of mind. Right. They completely forget till they go to refinance or sell it, and they're like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean I don't owe 180 that my statement shows? What do you mean I owe this much?
Right.
So it is something that we constantly are educating. To even go in further on that, Calhfa has 2 education courses they're requiring for this loan. to reinforce to these buyers, this is what this means. This is what you're signing up for. Please understand that this is repayable. And the difference with this program, the other programs that Calhfa offers have interest rates on them. This one doesn't have any interest charged on it. But where they're getting their money back is when one of those items happens, you sell, refinance, or 30 years pass by, you have to repay the original amount they gave you plus either 15 or 20% of your equity. And we're going to give you an example of that in just a moment.
Those are off the top numbers, basically.
Exactly right. Exactly right. But, and people get scared of that. What do you mean I have to share my equity? But for some people who couldn't afford to get into a home, that was equity they were never going to have. So having some equity, having 80% of your equity back to you versus zero equity is still a lot of money in your pocket for you to buy again in the future.
Well, equity being this big bucket, if everybody's in the bucket, you've got to take out your share. Like, it's not something that's just going to stay there and you don't ever have to give it back.
Right.
If everybody's donating from and to, you have to do your part. I understand.
And so there's, with the income limits, and we'll see the income limits here in just a moment, but they consider people with lower income at 80% of the AMI. That's area median income for short. In Kern County, the area median income is $58,070. $58,070. That means your income cannot exceed $58,070 to be considered low income. So then, if you meet that criteria, you only have to pay back 15% of your shared equity. If you're over that income limit, you pay back 20% of your shared income.
And how do they find that out? Is that part of the videos that they're watching? Like, how would they know that? I mean,
you talking about Calhfa or the homeowner potential?
Borrowers with incomes above 80% AMI. Would they know that they qualify?
The lender's going to tell them.
The lender's going to tell them.
Yeah, because they're going to start with the lender, who is going to go through their income, their assets. We have to actually issue out an approval letter, but we're actually jumping ahead to some of the next information. So I'm going to pause on that piece. They do cap the payback at 2.5 times the original principal. So unless people keep the loans for 30 years, they may not see that. Most people are going to get into this for a few years, get them into a house, probably sell it,
or refinance when rates go down,
things like that. So, but there is a cap on it. They're not just going to come in and take hundreds of thousands of dollars from you, above what they gave you.
Got it.
So we have some examples. So I'm gonna leave this slide because the examples I feel like make a little more sense.
Oh yeah.
This is straight out of the Calhfa's handbook. They give these examples. So what happens here is if you have somebody whose income is above that low income threshold that we just mentioned, and let's say that they are buying a house that is $500,000, they're going to get 20% toward their down payment, and that would be $100,000 in this scenario. Okay? So California is coming in and saying, here's your $100,000 for your down payment, assuming they just use it for down payment and not toward closing costs, because they are able to divide it up if they like. Assuming they do it just to down payment, they don't have mortgage insurance. So that's a feature. Some people want to come in with absolutely zero out of pocket. So they're going to adjust it and have anywhere from let's just make it easy. Let's say a 15% down, and then the other 5% is for closing costs. That's not the exact amounts. I'm just keeping it very simple for what the people would be seeing.
And remember, seller can pay closing costs on these loans.
Correct. So fast forward, they go to sell their house. The house value is now $700,000, but they bought it at $500,000. Okay. That means they have gained equity of $200,000 because they bought it at $500,000, now selling at $700,000. They have to pay back 20% of that equity to Calhfa. So 20% of $200,000 is $40,000. That makes sense so far?
Yeah, I'm following.
Okay. So they owe the original loan amount, the $100,000, plus the additional $40,000 for the equity split. So they're now paying, instead of them getting, $200,000 difference for their equity, they're paying back $140,000. They're going to be netting $60,000. Does that make sense on that part?
Yeah, it does. And I mean, those are reasonable numbers. I mean, look at our market in the last 2.5, 3 years. Like, that's pretty reasonable that would be what somebody could make on a property.
Exactly. And let's say life happens, they have to sell their home in 6 months. We've seen scenarios occur, they get transferred out of California. Who knows?
Right.
If they don't have any equity to share, they don't pay back any shared equity. They still have to pay back their loan, but they don't have to pay back any equity they don't have.
Okay.
Now, and then we went into the 15 or the, I'm so sorry. We went into another example. So we have them under the 80%.
Okay.
And up to,
That one's wrong.
Yeah, that one's wrong. This is straight out of the Calhfa's handbook too. So I'm going to skip this one because I didn't realize the
Because it says 20% when it should be 15%. Right?
On the
low income.
Yeah. So that right here, see how they had borrower AMI is under and up to the 80%.
Yeah.
Technically, the repay is only 15%, but the handbook still has it at 20. I just kind of caught that.
Whoops.
So we'll skip that one. But the same thing
Just
would apply.
another indication that they pay attention to details that the rest of us would probably
Clearly, I didn't pay attention to detail either when I posted the example, so I can't really cast a stone. But that being said, here's just another example of the 20%. If they are trying to do the 50, if they meet the 80% AMI income limit and they're under it, then they only have to pay back the 15%.
Got it.
Actually, they do have it right.
They switch it down.
They redid how they worked it up. Yeah, but it's still the same. 30,000.
Okay, helps if I pay attention to my slides beforehand. Then, so they're going through and they're giving you the appreciation down at the bottom. So you're paying back your 20%. Yeah, you're right. I just need more coffee. All right, back that up a little bit. So we have the sales price at the 400,000.
All good.
They're giving them 20%. So they're going to give them $80,000 in this scenario. When they go to sell the house, they're selling it for $600,000. So they've gained that $200,000 equity again. So they're going to pay back their 20%, which is equaling the $40,000. Okay, but they're taking it as a factor of 0.75 for the factor of the shared appreciation. So they're only going to end up giving back 30%, 30,000 of, 30,000 of their equity. They're making 200,000 on the equity, but they're having to pay California housing the 80,000 they give plus the 30,000 equity.
Okay.
So they're still
in
making
this case,
money.
they're pocketing $90,000 in equity.
I see.
And they saved, think of let's say they had this loan for 10 years and they used all of that money for the down payment. That's 10 years of mortgage insurance they saved because they're not going to have mortgage insurance for
and
those
a lower
10 years.
payment.
And a lower monthly payment. So there's a monthly savings in addition to all of this that's not even being factored into these examples.
And PMI is another level of risk and impact on a monthly payment that I don't know that people understand the level of when they come in with some of these programs, because the programs, they're designed to help them. And then you have to have the conversation of like, okay, and now we've got PMI. Well, wait, what's PMI? So, the private mortgage insurance, that's the risk that they're taking to lend you the money. This program has a lot of that already taken out. So there's very little risk to the buyer to participate in this. Like they don't, yes, they have a small window to climb through to qualify for it, which I don't think is, unreasonable, but a lot of the extra factors that could sometimes derail a purchase aren't even factored, aren't even part of the conversation here, which I like.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So let's see what else we can do here.
Okay. Whoa.
We went through and showed income limits by Kern County. This is not going over the 80% AMI. So keep in mind, I didn't actually stipulate that 80% AMI income we gave was specific to Kern County. It changes within the state of California. So everybody's different. It gets looked up on the Fannie Mae Home Ready Income Lookup tool. This is if you're going over the 80%. So the buyers cannot, in Kern County, would not be able to exceed income limits of $132,000 to qualify for this program. So and the home buyer can kind of look at their tax returns too. If they're filing income jointly for $150,000, they're over the income limits.
Right.
But going back to your divorce question, divorce, if they got a divorce and they're no longer married that next year, that's something that we would look at and put the divorce papers in there.
Got it.
And the other Calhfa programs have a higher income limit than this.
They do.
This one is cut down for this program.
Oh, I think we lost Angel. Angel,
I'm
you still
here. I'm here. My camera is being wonky. I
there?
don't know. I'm here. If you can't
right.
see me, trust me, I can hear you.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll keep talking then. So, it kind of gives you an idea. Obviously, LA County is going to be higher. San Francisco, those other higher cost areas are going to have the higher income limits.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Santa Barbara County
Mm-hmm.
is going to be different than, Contra Costa County, and is different than Kern County.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So that makes, they know their state.
Mm-hmm. I'll do this one, then let you pick up. Sure. Okay. So the biggest question now is, how is this program working? How do we qualify?
Yes.
What's happening now is the home buyers have to start with the lender. They have to get pre-qualified by a Calhfa approved lender, which we are. So then we issue out a very specific approval letter that is signed by us that Calhfa requires to be able to apply. Once they open the portal, we do not know when they're opening this portal. We're being told spring, don't have a date. People are just being encouraged to apply now, have their approval by us ready to go. So as soon as we get word that that portal is open, they can then upload their application right away along with our signed approval letter.
Okay.
Once they do that, the state is going to go through and via a lottery system is going to issue so many vouchers per county. We do
Okay.
not know how many vouchers per county. They are not giving us that information. They're saying it's going to be a lottery system, a random lottery system. They're not giving any more details on how that random lottery works, other than to say that it will be limited. There will only be so many people drawn per county.
Okay.
They're then given a voucher. The voucher information has to be forwarded back to us, the lender. That way we can be ready to roll. They start shopping for a property at that point. They will have so many days to find a home to be able to utilize the voucher. We don't know the days yet. We don't know how long that's going to be for. If they don't find a home within that time frame, their voucher is null and void, and their money goes back into the pot to be reissued for that county.
Ruh-roh.
I know. So that's the downside because supply is down, right? There's houses out there, but
Well, just the reapplication process. Like, what if the window was closed and they don't get to, like they didn't find a house and then they can't reapply. Like, oh, that's.
And they did it this way because last year it was a huge issue. People couldn't get the program, but they had the house. It was just a mess. So now they're making sure that people have time to shop around.
Okay.
And then use their voucher.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a rundown of how that particular program is going to work. If you try to ask them specifics on how this lottery is going to work, how many they can get per county, they just tell you they're not releasing that information. So
we are told it's going to come in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I guess we're in the spring as of next week, whatever spring happens, February 21st or whatever. And then, so sometime in there, it's going to be released. And then they have to apply with you, right? To get pre-qualified with you guys.
Right.
Correct.
Then they take that pre-qualification letter that you guys give them and go get on the site and get in the portal to be chosen in the lottery.
Right.
Like this, the order of things is like, first and foremost, you've got to make sure that you can be qualified to buy in this program.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Because you want to get all your ducks in a row before they, open the gate and go, okay, go.
They're trying to avoid that last time. I mean, we all remember what it was like last year, and they were out of funds within 2 weeks.
It was like, oh, it's here and it's gone. And thank you for watching.
That's how it happened.
Pretty much.
It's like I got a whiplash. Like, oh, it's going to last till the end of the month. No, it's not. It's done today. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. It was a mad dash.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit like the rope drop at Disneyland. Like, you want to get everything, you want to get there just in time so that when the rope drops, you've got access to all of all the things. So you've got to get the things in order before they say, okay, we're releasing it. And then you're like, oh, I got the lottery ticket. I got the
right. It felt like, it was wild. And then, can you think of anything that we didn't talk about that would help?
Just to reiterate, if this program doesn't work for you, there are other assistance programs that do. And that's the thing to not forget. You have to kind of see where you stand and where you can go from there.
Now, I had a question. So we were talking about all the other programs that you guys were just mentioning, if they're a teacher, if they are a first responder, if they're a veteran, if there's all these other programs out there, they cannot use this one in addition to one of those, right? It's this one. It's a yes and or an either or.
Either or.
Either or.
An either or. It's not a, there's no stacking.
Nope.
Got it. Okay.
No.
And so also in addition to that, if I'm a seller and I have a buyer that brings this type of offer, I wouldn't even really know if I'm a seller. So if they're going to ask me as a seller for closing costs or any kind of concession, they can use that on the front end as their assistance, that down payment assistance, and they can get help from a seller, which many sellers are doing nowadays.
Correct. Right. Yeah.
So, again, that's not an either or, that's a yes and.
Yes. Yes.
That's very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sellers
And
are still willing to give that incentive is what's selling their properties right now, I think.
yeah, I 100% agree. They are absolutely willing to help people because days are, I think one of our days on market, 34, I
thought you said?
32 or something.
32 or 33. So it goes quick, and I love that it's broken down per county. The down payment amounts, that 5% not to exceed, looks 150,000, like you're saying before, is like in Kern County, that looks like, well, good Lord, that's half the cost of the house. But, if we're down in San Diego or if we're in, up in Contra Costa, that's not half the cost of the house.
Right.
Exactly right.
So, and it's not, and one more final question. This is not only single family. This can be used on a condo, or can this be used on a townhome? There's no restrictions in that regard.
You cannot have units, so it cannot be a 2 to 4 unit.
It cannot be a multi.
Single residences only. You can use this for manufactured housing.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
condos.
a true condo goes through a very different process these days.
Right. Yeah.
There's very few of those in Kern County, but I can't speak to that in other counties.
Yeah.
The majority of the condos in Bakersfield, Kern County have been converted to what they call PUDs, where you own the dirt and the house. The other ones where it's a true condo, the homeowner doesn't own the dirt, they just own the structure.
Right.
And that's the difference. Those go through a completely different vetting process, and they have to be on the approved list. There's an approval process that Fannie Mae does and goes through. Mainly what happened after the condo collapse in Florida. What was that, been a few years now?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember that? They had a high rise in Florida collapse.
Oh.
Well, what ended up happening was the HOA for the condominium complex deferred all the maintenance. They weren't taking care of the building. Well, the building collapsed.
Ruh-roh.
So after that, a whole slew of additional requirements have come through, mainly making sure the HOAs are doing the proper maintenance, making sure the buildings are structurally sound. And that's why the true condo process has gotten a little bit more complicated in the last few years. So when you say, can you do a condo? Yes, but they have to be approved.
Well, I'm just thinking about some of the places in some of the more expensive counties, like we were addressing, is a single family home in Rancho Cucamonga is going to be different than buying a townhome or something with an adjoining wall or a common space, like what we've been talking about with whether we're calling it a condo or a townhome. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, show everybody, for those of you that are watching, you put up your QR code. There you go. So if you are not watching this live, that's fine. We forgive you. But please pause this and use their QR code to get to Natalie and Nicole so that they can get you started, to get you ready when they do the rope drop. When they do that, when they're ready to go, you got to be ready to go and get your property identified. So you've got to get the ducks in a row. And this is a great way. If you are not going to screenshot this, then another way to reach out to them is in the description below. But yes, absolutely, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Oh gosh, let me bring it back because I don't know why it went away and then it went weird. I'm just going to leave it up. That way people can get a hold of you. But I am so thankful because this is a lot of information. Like I am glad you guys explained it. Let me just say that.
It's a lot to take in that first round, but.
And if you have questions, just give us a call.
Yes.
If we don't know the answer, we'll get it for you.
Well, but you guys are on the inside track because you want to help people get a hold of this. Yeah.
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 It's a great program. I
All
mean,
right.
it will fit people and it will really help them out getting in.
I agree. I think this is, and I agree with you, Natalie. I think this is going to be something that they kind of continue to tweak and move forward and tweak and move forward each year.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. I hope everybody that's watching understands just how rock star you guys are in my world. I love working with you both, and it's been a pleasure. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you around town.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.